shooting down in the woods. He wouldn't leave it even if he could. 'Cause life is good, yeah!
Hickok45, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the beautiful hills of Middle Tennessee. Yes, the home of Alvin York and Dolly Parton. And yes, it is beautiful here, with or without Dolly. The spring has sprung, and it is gorgeous, despite what you see in some videos with barren lands, snow, fall leaves. You never know, do you? When you tune in to our videos, what you will see. And no, we don't forget about videos. We do videos when we can obtain firearms, and we post them whenever it makes sense in the batting order, considering variety and whatever is going on. Okay. Yeah, speaking of beauty, Dolly Parton. Oh, yeah. John and I are going to be over in Dolly Parton's neck of the woods next Saturday, this coming Saturday, actually. What is it, May the 9th, for the meet and greet. And of course, all of you are going to be there, so you know what I'm talking about. And maybe we will all get a chance to meet Dolly when she shows up. I expect her to be there to greet me. Okay, and I will greet her, meet and greet her. So, yeah, we are in Sevierville. That's where she's from. That's where her Dollywood is. Well, or is it in Pigeon Forge, I guess, technically? I don't know. It's right there together. The amusement park she owns and all that. So, anyway, I expect her to be there. You know, I have no doubt about that, right? She missed it the last time. Probably just an oversight on her part, right? So, yeah, we'll see you there Saturday, May 9th. It's the Bud's Gun Shop and Range. It's their newer store, relatively new, in Sevierville. Not far, what is that, exit 407, I think? And you head south there on 66s. That's the way that I always go into Gatlinburg or that area, Pigeon Forge, whenever I go. And you pass the knife store, you know, the Smoky Mountain Knife Works store. If you've ever been there, you're familiar with that one. And of course, the Bud's Gun Shop and Range is right behind it. And a building there that they bought and remodeled and everything. Have a nice gun shop and a really nice range in there, state of the art, and all that. So anyway, we'll be there. And we're actually, this is going to be a little different meet and greet. As you can kind of tell, I posted on Facebook, you know, the schedule. And it's, what is it, from 10 to 11, we're going to do a radio show. John and I are together, you know, as we have done occasionally at his studio, his house. And then and you know, with audience invited there, or whoever would want to be there, one person, two people, 100, whatever, and watch us yak. I don't know, we might involve a viewer there or two. I don't know what we're going to do exactly. It's going to be a radio show. We're going to talk about some topics, and it's a podcast, and then we'll have let's see, the second hour we're going to just take questions from the audience and, you know, talk to all of you, and then after that kind of an individual meet and greet, you know. Then after that we're going to have a swim party. No, just kidding about the swim party. But anyway, I hope you can make it if you're anywhere nearby. It's a beautiful area, and it is spring. That is a huge destination if you are not aware of it. If you're living in another country or a faraway state and you're not familiar with eastern Tennessee and you've not been to the Smoky Mountains, it's this is all news to you. You've just never been there. It's a very heavily traveled park or viewed. In fact, I think it's still the most visited park in the country. Now, I'm not saying that just because I'm in Tennessee and, you know, I lay claim to the Smoky Mountains National Park. It really is. I'm almost certain. I've heard that number thrown around many different times about it being the most visited park in the country. And it may not be because it's the very best park in the country, although it's a cool place. It's partly, well, that's it. Partly, it's really cool. The Smoky Mountains, Gatlinburg, Cherokee, North Carolina, over the mountains and all that. But it's located such that it's kind of on the crossroads of the eastern United States. It's just not that far from anywhere in the eastern United States. I mean, it's not you can't walk there in the morning or anything, but it's the location puts it right there where almost anybody can get to it. And I guess what you would say is the most densely populated part of the country, the eastern Mississippi. So anyway, it's pretty cool over there, and we hope to see you at the gun shop again. It's right there behind the Smoky Mountain Knife Works, and you cannot miss it. No way. So be there. Speaking of that, some of you got to visit this part of the country recently at the NRA convention, didn't you? Yes, I know you did, because I met a bunch of you. John and I talked about that in the vlog we did together a couple of weeks ago, and how cool it was, and seeing so many of you at both the meet and greet and then just walking around the convention hall there, as well as all the cool firearms manufacturers and everything they have to offer, just laid out there for everybody to fondle. Yeah, I mean, that's really what it's all about. It's one of the few times, even when you go into a nice gun store where people are very friendly and they want you to be comfortable and to buy a firearm from them and are perfectly willing to show you what you'd like to see, you still feel a little, I don't know, like you're overstepping, aren't you? If you want to see, 8 or 10 different firearms. And I mean, I myself, if I wanted to go into a gun shop, if they know me well, I know them well, I do business with them, and I'm trying to decide on maybe one of these new single stack knives, for example, and I just am not sure about how they compare, and I got the people there, clerks and whoever, getting out 5 or 6 guns to compare size or something and weight and all that. The kind of thing you'd like to do, but it's just a little bit of a stretch, pushing the clerks, pushing it too much with that. So you feel a little awkward, doing that, and don't want to overdo it. That's the neat thing about these huge conventions like that. The guns are literally put out there for you to do exactly that. Now, you can't carry them around. They're on a cord, security cord, but you can pick them up, and they want you to, pull the trigger. They want you to. Okay, so how's that for being different? And fondle them. That's what they're there for. So got to make an NRA convention sometime. Put that on your to-do schedule, regardless of whether you hate the NRA or not. As I mentioned in the, I guess that was the vlog, that maybe you hold your nose and join one year just so you can go to that and maybe learn a little bit more about it and see if what you've been hearing about it's mostly myth or not. Some of it's probably true. As I remind all of you, myself, often, that it's not a perfect organization, of course. No big organization is. They're going to be far from perfect, that's for sure, because just the nature of a large organization is that. There are going to be disagreements, problems, mistakes made. Look at the government. That's part of the problem there, isn't it? So big. The old founding fathers set it up pretty darn well, but it's so big. Wow, so much room for abuse. But anyway, the NRA, like it or hate it, it's a necessary evil and does a whole lot of good. But so I understand people. Again, we gun owners are kind of an independent sort, and we just are. We're not joiners per se. I think we have learned, though, in the last decade or so, that we have to change our ways a little bit and be more of a joiner, because the anti-gun forces really are joiners. I mean, that's their whole thing. Let's get together and defeat those evil people with their firearms, those rednecks. They sit around their coffee shop and they figure out ways to ban our firearms. And I mean, what I'm saying? Nothing against coffee shops. It's just that they don't get out and do stuff in the woods, generally speaking. They get out and do the kinds of things that we do. For the most part, there's exceptions, but one reason people are fearful of firearms is what I'm getting at is they're afraid of everything. They're afraid of going out into the woods, probably climbing a tree, throwing a knife, or doing something like that. Firing a gun. Ooh, scary, scary. But they're generally not afraid of marshaling their forces and joining and spending money for causes. And I think we have realized on our side that is something we have to do better, and we have started doing that better. And we have to join and send in our money, let our money speak for us through the folks who really know what they're doing, the lobbyists, the attorneys who are working hard for our cause, whether it's the Gun Owners of America, the Second Amendment Foundation, the NRA, the states organizations, state level organizations. That's where the battles are being fought, especially at the state level. So you just have to do it. It's really sad that there's just 5 million people in the NRA when there's well over 100 million gun owners. And I don't know if you put the membership probably from all organizations, gun rights organizations, including state organizations. It's probably not over 10 or 15. I don't know, it'll just be my guess. Maybe it is. So there's just a lot of people doing nothing and then trying to justify it somehow, And I just like to remind people of this occasionally, from watching videos and even the vlogs and radio shows. I don't rail on this all the time. I'm not always trying to get people to do something, to join an organization. It's not a part of my DNA really. It's just it's strictly for self-survival. The part of it is selfish. I mean, it really is. I want to keep my firearms and my freedom, and everybody I know who owns firearms does. So that's it. It is for selfish reasons. Let's all do it for the same selfish reason. We want to keep the country free and the Second Amendment strong. So I don't rail on it much, but I do occasionally, like right now. I'm on my soapbox, and it's easy to come up with reasons not to support those organizations, whichever one it is. It just is. Sometimes, I don't know. There are people who really study things and are very, very logical, and they just make a decision that they're going to not join this organization, but they're going to join this other one because they like what they do better, or whatever it is. Those fights, great. Do something. But then again, we all know there are those shallow thinking people who just love to hate something, right? They just love to hate something. They have this strong instinct inside to be a hater, I guess, whether it's a hater of 1911s or a hater of polymer pistols or a hater of Glocks or a hater of the NRA or a hater of the Second Amendment Foundation, or just haters. They just are. They're built to hate something. They just want to. Sometimes they just want to be different. Maybe it makes some people. I think here I am playing amateur psychologist, but I do think it makes some people feel better if they take that contrary opinion, even if they have no basis in fact for it. They haven't even studied it. They haven't even researched it. They're not really working from a base of knowledge or logic, maybe. They just feel better if they take the contrary opinion on something. And if it's something that a lot of people are doing, buying, or joining, then by their not participating in all that, they feel smarter. They feel superior maybe. They just have this really strong need to feel like they made the right decision. They see things that you and I don't see. They're smarter than we are, and it kind of gives them an ego boost, I think. Okay, now, I hope none of the local or even national, since this is on the internet, psychologists or psychiatrists bill me or sue me for malpractice there. Anyway, that's my little Psych 101 babble speak on it. But, sometimes I think that's what it is. You see it on videos. You see people that make stupid comments, hateful comments about something that it's just, they just get a thrill out of typing something so that others will see it that that shows they don't think like everybody else. I'm smarter than the rest of you idiots, who seem to enjoy this gun, or you like this gun, or whatever it might be. So anyway, I think there are people in that category, but everybody is not. Not everybody who dislikes the NRA or the Second Amendment Foundation or Glocks or 1911. Not everybody is just an idiot. They obviously there's some logic behind a lot of folks' opinions, so I'll give them that. But I think too often it's that other thing I was talking about and pontificating on. And again, I think this is one reason you see a lot of hate for maybe certain guns. Well, not a lot, but from certain people. You see intense hate for a polymer pistol or a 1911 or a Glock or maybe an AR-15 or maybe an old military surplus bolt-action gun. You're like, what use does that stupid thing have? It's obsolete. You can name any gun, and there's going to be extreme hate for it, from some people. And that reminds me of something I may not have talked about, but because I usually talk about things over and over again, repeat myself, right? So, is that you really don't want to necessarily love the gun you carry or your favorite defensive gun. By that I mean, I know some of you can't carry a gun, but maybe you're allowed to in your country, wherever you're listening from, maybe to have a firearm for defense of your home. Hopefully, my gosh, if you live somewhere where you cannot even have a firearm in your home, oh boy, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know, maybe just write those letters and vote. But the guns are in different categories, and we talk about the lot. What's this gun for? And it's like I have trouble advising anybody what pistol they might. I just came off of Facebook a few minutes ago. I revisited, after being out for the afternoon, and of course there's a long stack of list of messages. I try to go through, and there were 3 or 4 of them about choosing the right gun. If I'm trying to choose between this M&P this or this VP9 or the Glock 19, which would you, and just lots of those. And I can't answer them all, but I try to get some of them. And again, it really depends on what they're going to do with it. I can't decide for you whether you should buy a VP9 or a Glock 19. They're both great, and it depends on what you're going to do with it. And there's not a lot of difference between those. The VP9 is bigger. So if you're going to carry it, I'd recommend the Glock 19. If you're not carrying it, then it really makes no difference. They're both great guns. And you could even carry the VP9, I guess, but just a bigger gun. But it depends on what you're going to do with a gun. A carry gun, in a lot of ways, I like to think of it as a hammer. It's a tool, and maybe it is ugly. Maybe I don't even like it. I don't even like the looks of it, That doesn't matter. That's not the most important thing about it. Can I shoot it well? Does it function 100% reliably? In a cartridge I like, capacity I like. And those are the most important things. Not whether I think it's aesthetically beautiful or not. Whether it has beautiful walnut grips or not. And has gorgeous blued steel or nice stainless steel. Most of that should be irrelevant when you're picking that hammer that you're going to carry, And maybe even your home defensive firearm. What's the best defensive firearm, for you in your situation? A firearm you like and you can handle. And then from there, though, if you feel like, gun's not really a gun unless it's made of wood and steel. Can't have any polymer stuff. Well, that's fine for maybe 90% of your collection. You might have 50 guns, and all but a couple of them, they're just gorgeous guns. They're old Smith & Wessons or Colts and whatever they are, new guns, but they're steel guns. They're wood. They're good-looking guns. The kind of gun you bring out and show people, visitors or folks at the range, and they just want to look at it. Just really gorgeous guns, like some I have. Quite a few I have. I think we need to separate those to some extent. Now, there's overlap, of course. Some of those could be really good carry guns. But a firearm you're depending on to protect your life, Hey, it doesn't have to be pretty. And in fact, I think somebody has a saying about that. There's a quote from either Clint Smith or Jeff Cooper or something. I don't know. Something about you don't want to you don't want to carry a pretty gun, or you don't want to depend on a pretty gun, or something like, I don't know. It's just a hammer. Okay, treat it like a hammer or a screwdriver, and don't be. And that's another reason I think a lot of people are always switching out their carry guns. Now I do that some based on the weather and everything, but it's in my attire, my dress. I mean, what I'm dressed in. I don't wear dresses, no, not yet. uh, but yeah, you just pick a couple of guns that work and forget about that, and then focus all you want to on other firearms that you like to shoot and take pleasure in owning. But I think, and I've known some people, they circulate through 8 or 10 different firearms because they're all just gorgeous, and they're classy, they're collectible, and they'll carry this one for a week or two and another one for a week or two. And they might be totally different manual of arms, which is not advisable. One might carry a 1911 one week and a Glock the next week, and then a double action revolver the next. I'm not sure that's the best advice, the best procedure there. I think it's best to stick with one manual of arms you're comfortable with, either just a pull and shoot, or if you like a thumb safety, keep it that way. You know, uh, but anyway, they're different categories. And it's kind of like your vehicles, maybe. Like I've got, well, I don't right now, but I've had an old truck. Well, it's a tool. I don't care what it looks like. Don't care how old it is. I've had an old pickup truck, probably most of my adult life. That I get around in and haul stuff in. Imagine that. And sometimes it would serve both purposes. To get me almost wherever I'm going, and also just around the farm truck. Right now with my Ridgeline, it's kind of a do-everything vehicle. I've got everything in one vehicle, which is always smart if you can, because it's less expensive and everything. But anyway, you know what I'm saying. Don't get too caught up in having to carry your prettiest gun, and then you know how that is. You buy a new gun and you're enamored with it. That's just natural, whatever it is. It's just your coolest gun for a while, isn't it? And oh, I got to carry this thing, And then the next gun you trade for, whatever, that's your coolest gun. And I know how it is. I've been through this many, many times. And so you're switching out your carry gun or your defensive gun all these times. Just forget it. Get something that works. That old hammer, that old ugly beat up hammer that works, and that's your carry gun. That's what you protect your life with. And don't worry about switching the thing out just because you have a new favorite firearm, new favorite pistol. Get something that works. Stick with it. Like Cooper did say, beware the man with one gun. And you can still do that even if you have 50 guns. If the one that you carry is consistent, your defensive gun doesn't switch out on you all the time. Well, actually, it doesn't switch out on you. You switch it out, right? Because you have changed your taste, or a new gun is in town. Oh, just like that new blonde or something. This is cool for right now. I have the same issue when I'm, we're testing guns. A lot of guns come in and out of here. Glock 43 is a pretty good example. And speaking of that, it's right in front of me here. Oop, I told you what it was, didn't I? Okay, you can guess anyway. What is this gun? Yeah, you're right. Y'all are smart. Glock 43. Yeah, simply because it's a new gun. There's a lot of hoopla about it, and you get one and you shoot the thing. You think, wow, this is cool. You're looking for the negatives or what's wrong with this gun. It's what's good about it, what's not, and maybe it's different. It's a different size category like this one. And you just, wow, that is cool. That is cool. Wow, finally a smaller Glock 9, and everything. And wow, I could carry that in my pocket, I think, a good holster. It's flat, and and you get a little too enamored with them for a little while. I've noticed that with firearms that I've borrowed from people or gifts, T&E gun, whatever it is. If it's a pretty cool gun, if you like guns, you like guns, and to get a different one in to shoot, it's always interesting. It's always fun, right? And so there's a natural tendency, just like when you're dating, right? You guys and gals have dated maybe a lot of different people, some period in your life, whoever you're dating, you start dating, the honeymoon is still on, and oh man, this is the coolest gal, the coolest guy on the planet. Oh, so neat, so excited. A few weeks later, all the warts begin to show up, and 6 months later, you hate them and all. It's the same with firearms to some extent. Although actually, if it's a good firearm, I never start hating it. I always want it around. uh, that's the case. I'm going through that right now, the Glock 43. Although I kind of started at a different point, I was actually thinking I probably would not like it. I thought the Glock 42 and the 380, that's a great size for the pocket. That's the ultimate pocket gun in a way, okay? Because it feels good. I love the car. There's others I like. I like that LC9. Yes. But when I really want something light that I almost don't know I have, I carry that Glock 42, okay? And it's big enough you can shoot it well. It's one of the most shootable 380s, pocket 380s, okay? That's what I'm trying to say. There's other great ones, but it's even more shootable than the little car P380. And it's a neat gun. John loves it and carries it. The Glock 42 is like that gun, but it's got just a little more length, and it lets you get a hold of the trigger better, and you can actually shoot the thing, okay, at distance pretty well. And it's very light and thin. So I just thought that gun, that this for a small Glock, a really small Glock, that's it. Okay. If I want anything bigger, 9, what's wrong with a 26? Go to the 26. And for capacity, I still think that. But I have to say, so anyway, I was ready not to like the 43 too much. I was gonna like it okay because it's a Glock. If it works, if it's reliable, yeah, it's single stack. It's another decent gun. And so, but I very quickly after shooting it for a few days, started going the other way very quickly and realizing this thing is cool, and I still think it's cool. So I'm in the honeymoon period with this gun right now, and I think we all go through that. This is a cool gun. I'm going to carry it. I've been carrying it, and well, since we got the first ones, I've been carrying the things either in my pocket or in a holster, and just got in a stealth gear holster for it. So carrying it today in a stealth gear holster inside the waistband. And again, it's thin, it's cool, it's got a great trigger. I can shoot it fine. I can shoot it at long range. I say. I can't drive nails with it, but I can shoot it. It feels like I can shoot it pretty close to what I can at 26, or in that category, which makes it to me a real combat gun. Okay, there are some really small guns that they're great for 10, 20 yards even, defensively, not a problem. If you stretch out to 50 or 60 or 70 yards, hitting something is problematic. And again, you don't generally need that. But it is cool if you've got a pocket gun that you can shoot 70, 80 yards without any trouble. That's neat. Then you've got a real gun. Um, although you don't have a lot of capacity, do you, with this? But anyway, so I'm at that point. I'm in the honeymoon period now with this, and I have a feeling I'm going to like it a long time. It's a good choice. It really is. And, it's got its haters. But people are just too picky. It's just another choice. It's another gun. It's another size option. That's all it is. So now look at the entire Glock lineup, and ideally you'd have all the same choices with the M&Ps, which are good guns, the Rugers, which are good guns. Who else? The XDM, XDS, all the Springfields. Go right on down the line, SIG. Ideally, we have a firearm in every caliber and size imaginable for carry or home defense or whatever, or just range blinking, and then you choose. So I don't know where all the haters come from. It's a firearm from Glock. Finally, right? That's why we hate. I think they were so long coming out with it, but we finally have a firearm from them that in that category, between the 42 and the 26. So good. They finally got around to it. Here it is. Take it or leave it. Don't have to like it at all. But now we have it. So there's no reason to hate it. No reason to hate anything. So it's just another gun. Nothing to get all that excited about, but it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. It seems to have typical Glock reliability. I like the trigger, and it's thin, and what's to hate about it other than it holds 6 rounds? So there we go. Um, oh, by the way, speaking of that, I got some extensions. They contacted me from Taran, I guess it's Taran, T-A-R-N Tactical Innovations, and have we wrestled one of the magazines? John did. We got one on. I would rather take a beating than take the floor plate off a Glock magazine. Let me go on record saying that. And I've always been that way. I just hate the way those magazines come apart. I would rather take a beating. And I have gotten some tools and some things that are supposed to make it easier. The people have sent me, and they don't work that I can tell that well. But anyway, maybe they do for you. But anyway, they have a 1-round extension and a 2-round extension. We've not tried the 2-round extension, but we did try the 1-round. In fact, that's what's on this magazine in my hand. Can you see it? And that I've been carrying in the gun. I tested it yesterday at length. I fired full magazine several times, and then I went through, I don't know how many times. I just put in 3, and I used 147 grain ammo because that's where your weak springs will show up with heavy bullets. And I couldn't get it to malfunction. It worked, worked every time, over and over and over and over and over and over again. Okay, I did that, and I feel comfortable carrying it. Well, for one thing, if you look at it, and then there will be other companies. I'm not selling these. I wasn't even familiar with the company, but I am so tickled that somebody about dropped it, came out with it. This one is aluminum, and it's anodized, I think, and I like the way it connects. It's easy to get on and off. You just need the right size little star wrench and everything. The cool thing about the one here, let me tell you the cool thing about the 1-round extension. And when other people come out with these, and I'm sure they're on the way, because Glock's not doing it, so there'll be a lot of them out there. This one, at least, it really does not appear to be an extension. It is ever so slightly longer than the regular flush magazine. I mean, it is just nothing. And I mean, if I handed you the 2 mags, the stock flat, flush mag, and this one, and if I just told you, well, this is just a metal butt plate, for protection of the mag, that's all you'd think it was. It is ever so slightly larger, and it does hold that extra round with no trouble. I told John, well, the stock magazine, flush magazine, must really not be a 6-round magazine. It must be a 6.5 magazine or a 6.7 magazine, and then with this just a little bit of extra room, takes it up to an extra round very, very simply. And you don't have to cram the 7th round in either. It's not one of those deals where, yeah, it'll get you 7 rounds in there, but you better be ready to sit on it or stand on it, hit it with a hammer to get that 7th one in. Not at all. Not at all. It just goes in very, very simply. So I'm very pleased with that, and I'll have to say that's going on all of my Glock 43 magazines. That's pretty cool. So anyway, and of course, and we'll show you that in a chapter 2. That changes the game too in a lot of ways, because one of the criticisms, as compared with probably the major criticism, is if this holds 6, why would you not choose the Shield or the LC9 over it, because they're not much bigger and you get an extra round. Well, with this on there, and I held it up against the Shield, with this you get 7 rounds, and it's still smaller than the Shield, so if you like Glock, you can stick with Glock and still have 7 rounds. Just a little info there I won't charge you for. So I am extremely pleased, because the 6 rounds that's bugged me. I know it's not a big difference, but it's still six versus seven. It's kind of cool. And then I will put the +2 on one when oh man, when I get motivated to do it and wrestle off the floor plate on one and test it. Now that one I will really want to test extensively to make sure it's reliable. I'll use 147 grain ammo, heavy ammo, make sure that that spring will handle that in a stock, magazine. And that would be 8 rounds. So that would be the one. If I'm carrying the 43, I would carry it with the regular +1, with 7 rounds, and then carry the 8 round magazine, and also in my pocket. And again, you don't feel like you're carrying an extended magazine with this. That's the coolest thing about it. It just almost doesn't change the length. So pretty cool, pretty cool. Thought you might want to know about that. You Glock haters, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. By the way, you might recall what happened on the last radio show. I'm using his earphones I picked up to record. I like it. It's got the little mouthpiece, and it has a rechargeable battery in it. I don't know how far I have it charged. I was having some trouble. Had to go to my backup computer. Audacity wasn't working right again. Imagine that. And but I remember on the last show, it just died all of a sudden, and so I had to let it charge. And then I came back the next day and picked up wherever I left off, or wherever I thought I left off. So if that happens, just be ready. Because these are stream of consciousness, and it's all one file. Normally, I don't. It just is. You get what you hear. You get what comes through my brain at any particular moment. So talk about real and reality. This is even, well, it's like the videos. It's just, we just go for 20 minutes or hour and a half and yak. All I can do is, if I want, at some point, I can hit the pause button. If I need to cough or gag or get a phone call, my wife starts screaming at me, the cat jumps up on the computer, or something like that. On another topic, you folks are always telling me how lucky I am. Of course, you haven't met my wife. Just kidding, just kidding. To be able to, test or shoot so many different firearms as I've done most of my life, but not to the extent that we have here in the last few years, of course. But yeah, you are so right. I really am lucky. This week, John and I, about 3 different days, we worked on videos. Worked, quote unquote. Do you call that work? Great work if you can get it right. Shooting different firearms, and there was one day particularly, I told John when we finished up, we were coming back to the shed here to clean guns and that kind of thing, and upload, process, render all the stuff you have to do after you do video or get started on that. And we had, well, I just said, man, we really are lucky. I mean, is this nirvana or what? But we did 3 videos that day, and one of them involved cowboy firearms, old Colts, lever guns, some things you'll be seeing, an old shotgun. We did an AR video. It was just a chapter 2, but it was with a nice Daniel Defense AR the gun parlor gave us last year, if you recall, and some modifications I'd done to it, and that was fun. Finally got the sights on and was able to hit, pretty well with it, I think, for me anyway. Just enjoyed that firearm. And I think between those, though, we did a video with a P-38, World War II, an original. You might have seen the Facebook picture I posted on that. It's a Walther, actual Walther. Goes back to World War II and things like that. It just hit me when we finished. I mean, are we lucky or what? We have shot all these guns today, making videos, and just all in one day. The variety, from guns from the 1800s to World War II to a modern AR-15, without really thinking about it either. Just doing it and enjoying it, and of course focusing on the video and what we're going to do in the video, but and setting up for it. But still, I mean, it is so cool. It is so cool, and some of you do the same things. Of course, you maybe just don't do it on video, but you have a variety in your firearms collection. And if you really are a shooting enthusiast, a firearms enthusiast, you tend to do that, I think. There are some people that all they have are maybe new polymer guns or something, or all they collect are Mosins or bolt action military surplus rifles, or that, which is fine. But then there are some of us, and some of you are listening, I'm sure, that just like them all, whether it's a muzzle loader, a flintlock, or a Beretta 92, whatever the heck it might be, a Glock, a Colt single action, or a Smith & Wesson double action, military firearms, 1911s, Glock. We just like firearms and are fascinated by the machinery of all the different types and the history of them. And that's kind of where I am. And so that's why I say it just strikes me now. It was just so cool. And then another day, what were we doing? We did a really nice 1911 and a Glock, and we did something else that was especially interesting. But it is cool doing this. So no doubt about it. You've got to be aware of how lucky you are when you are lucky. So it's no trouble being aware of how unlucky you are when you're unlucky, right? That's always our first thought. But sometimes we don't savor the moment, and I try to do that. Don't know when you're going to be below grass instead of above grass, right? Of course, I don't think I'm ever going to be below grass. I'm always going to be well, depends on how you look at it. I want to be cremated, and I don't know, maybe John can find some kind of mortar round big enough to hold all my ashes and just blast me into the sky instead of the usual cremation. Well, or after the cremation, mix me in there with a powder, so I can just go out appropriately. How would that be? Which reminds me, speaking of that too, I guess along the same lines, and John does a lot of work in this area. It's one of his main drives, and I've always, I don't know, pat myself on the back, but I've always felt like I was a bit of a Renaissance man, quote unquote, but it's just natural. I just like a lot of different stuff. It wasn't something I set out to do from my intellectual pursuits or anything. I like everything. Anything that's interesting, I like to do it and try it. But and John's constant theme really in his radio shows and his work and speaking before the camera or on the microphone, is he's trying to get people to branch out a little bit and think a little deeper and not be so one-dimensional, perhaps. But I was reminded of that this weekend. I went to a crafts fair. Yes, crafts fair in Nashville. And in fact, I always go to the crafts fair. There's a couple a year there, and I always make the one in the spring if possible. Usually with my wife. But I've been going to that thing since 1980. And I've missed a few, but not many. I enjoy that crafts fair. It's really cool. It's one, I forget what they call it, the Artisans Festival or something. It's not just a flea market. It's not just junk. It's massive, and everything there has to be, I think, made originally, original material from the person setting up. It's not just a bunch of junk, whether it's jewelry or metal craft. Just whatever it is, out of wood, silver, iron, it's just and you run into some really interesting things and some really creative people. There's paintings and photography, all that sort of thing there. You've been to those sorts of things. Probably been to that one if you live anywhere nearby. But that's just neat. And what it reminded me of it was I ran into some viewers there, believe it or not, 3 or 4, and then even 2 or 3 of the vendors there, or 4, that know me or I have known them anyway from going to that thing. As Hickok45 that watch the videos. It's mostly guys that are working in metal. I'll be honest with you, it's not some of the others, but it's just interesting. I ran into some viewers walking around too. There they were at the crafts fair, and I joke with all of them, and now don't tell anybody you saw me at a craft fair. Just kidding though, because that is interesting stuff. And if you have an appreciation for how things are made and people who are creative, I mean, how can you not like some of that? Now, some of it's not my cup of tea. Some of it's obnoxious, but I enjoy that. I enjoy anything where people are creative and they're making things. It's original stuff. You know, you can't hate that. But yeah, there I am, big old dumb redneck me. Well, not all that redneck, maybe not all that dumb, but hanging out at craft fairs. I enjoy that sort of thing, and I don't go just because my wife wants me to. I remind her, uh, ask her if she was going this morning. Are we going this morning? Because I'm going sometime this weekend, and it also works out well too because it's her birthday coming up, and Mother's Day. It's always right there at that perfect time. I can find something that is a nice gift. So anyway, hit the craft fairs, man. It's cool stuff. Speaking of cool guns too, crafty guns, nothing like you'll find at a craft fair. Did you see the picture I posted on Facebook of the two classic World War II pistols? One was that P-38 by Walther, and the other one was Remington Rand 1911. And again, I hope most of you have a Facebook account. I mean, it's so simple. You don't have to be a Facebooker, but it helps you keep up with stuff. Uh, I mean, I grow weary of Facebook myself, and people always talk about it. Like me on Facebook, like me on Facebook, big signs here and there. Like, geez, who cares? It's so stupid. It's just a way to for us to post pictures easily and things like that. So keep you posted on what's going on, reminders. So just do that. We can't really do that on YouTube as well. So anyway, check it out over there, Hickok45. I think there are an imposter or two on Facebook, but you can tell we're the ones with all the pictures I post, and there's I think around 240,000 likes or something like that, followers. Most of the imposters, whether they're on YouTube or wherever else they are, of course, they don't get many views, and that have stolen videos. And those, 10 views on a video they've stolen. I hope that stays the same way. Hopefully you're watching our videos, on YouTube, if you support what we do, of course, and that seems to be what's happening. There's always going to be thieves out there and imposters, but we're easy to find. It's just Hickok45. It's what do they call it, the public figure page. Whoa, I'm a public figure, so that you can follow that page without having to be approved and all that kind of thing. That's the reason they have those. I would know, I would know Harry Smith from Arkansas wants to follow my page. What am I going to do? Approve or disapprove? I don't. I want people to follow it, so I don't. That's the purpose of it. So keep up with some stupid reminders and things. So, but anyway, I posted a picture of both of those together recently, of that Remington Rand and the P-38, and just so cool to have those in a Remington Rand. As I mentioned in the video, we have done it already, but not posted that my dad carried a Remington Rand 1911 in World War II in Europe, and didn't bring it back. You've heard some of that story before, probably. He couldn't. They threatened him and all that, and he is so sorry he didn't go ahead and bring it back, because he said he actually could have. They wouldn't have known. And some people did, of course, as we all know, and that kind of thing. But anyway, I'm going to have to get a Remington Rand sometime, just in honor of him. I've never had a Remington Rand, never owned one. But obviously it would have been cool to have his. How cool would that have been? That's beyond cool. So I guess the closest I can get is to just buy one sometime. They ain't cheap. But that's cool to get guns like that from buds. We can usually get the newest firearms, different things, but they're helping there with us on used guns that come in, because they have a lot of used guns. I wish I lived closer. I'd go over there about every 3 days and just prowl around and see what do y'all got, man? What's on the on the shelf, and because we got access to about any of those, especially now that they're going back, and so it'd be cool. But so they're trying to keep me posted on what they have, and boy, I wanted those two. So again, those go back for auction, like everything we're doing now with buds, and I hope they bring plenty of money for them, and we can keep that up, and they will. I think they've been giving us guns, so even if they just get half of what they're worth, it doesn't really matter. Their agreement, they're going to send 10% of the selling price to the Second Harvest Food Bank. So we're happy with that. We don't get anything from the auctions or anything. It's all buds, and just help support what they're doing for us, and the basic just the general sponsorship that we get from them. It makes it a lot better for what we're doing. We can go, don't have to think so much about going to buy a gun and different things, as they're good sponsors. Okay, we don't need the guns to be kept here necessarily. Okay, so we want them to do well with those, and hope they do. What else was I going to say? I mean, I don't know what I was going to say. Probably nothing. So I'll think of something else to say. I need to wrap up, don't I? How long have I talked here? Probably too long. Of course, I could say that at about any interval, couldn't I? How long have I talked now? Other than too long. Well, I was just reminded, looking at this Glock 43, some comments John made. I never know what I'm going to talk about in these radio shows, do I? What was it in the? I guess it was the part that he did his Glock 43 video, and he posted at the end of our Glock, the Hickok45 Glock 43 video. And he actually, I'll tell on him here. He when we did the video, so why don't you give your impressions too, and we'll stick it on the end here. And he was going to do a separate video for the other channel with it, but at that point he was going to just do kind of his impressions of the gun, talk about the gun and shoot a little bit, and that was, tack it on to the end of the video. And he did that rascal. He of course I filmed it, great photographer that I am, and I guess we did 2 pass-throughs on it, and I thought both of them were great. And so then he decides, okay, now let's do a video for the other channel, and so we did that. So I think that's what he pulled some out of that video and put on the end of the Glock 43 video. But he made some great. So I, what am I even bringing all that up is I don't remember in which of those he made the point. I thought he did really well, and the part that he originally was going to put on the end of the video. But it's him, and he still thinks he's nervous in front of the camera some and all that kind of thing. So he's a little hard to please for himself and everything. But so whatever you want, whichever of those you want to put on there, but stick one of them on there, and they're part of it. But in one of those, he really made some good points about firearms and what he carries, the Glock 43 and even the 380 pocket gun he carries, and how as defensive minded as he is, and as pro gun as he is, and how important he feels it is to always have a firearm if it's possible, if it's at all legal. He is not a big gun guy most of the time, and he said he doesn't want to dress every day and planning for or counting on or planning for a big gunfight, or however he phrased it. And I think it is something to think about, isn't it? Because all too often, I think all of us, we get too caught up in the biggest gun, the biggest capacity, because the more you read, the more you study, and the chance of some kind of possible domestic terrorist or this happening, and multiple assailants and everything. If you're already a gun carrier, it's really easy to get caught up in that. But it's awfully difficult too, though, to be that well prepared all the time. It just is, especially in the summertime when it's 95 degrees with humidity at 99%. It's more difficult to carry that high capacity, pistol or whatever else it might be. And maybe we make fun of a 6-round gun, like the Glock 43, or many of the popular carry firearms, 7 rounds, 6, 5. Maybe we give them short shrift. We look down upon them more than we ought to. At least you're armed. And how many rounds are you going to need? I can argue both sides of it now. I'm just sort of bringing it up just for debate, I guess, or to think about, because I could really just argue and debate on either side of that issue. It is not that hard to have something like a Glock 19 with lots of rounds, or even a Glock 26 and then have a Glock 17 mag as a spare, and man, you've got a lot of ammo there, and a really shootable firearm and all that. It's not that hard, but it is inconvenient sometimes. And I know what Clint Smith say, a gun's not supposed to be comfortable, it's supposed to be comforting, and I agree. But then again, you got to look at the facts. Of course, the reason we carry, the reason we have a fire extinguisher, the reason we have homeowners insurance, the reason we have a spare tire, is for that event that is very unlikely. So I mean, I can argue both sides of it, but still you can look at numbers. I mean, how many people, how many civilians? Most of us are civilians, although we have a lot of you folks in the military, I know, and police officers that listen and watch. But how many civilians, how many concealed carry permit holders in the last 4 years, let's say, were killed because they didn't have enough rounds in their guns? And I'm just throwing that out there. Maybe somebody knows, maybe somebody does. Maybe it's 10, maybe it's 50, maybe it's none. How many concealed carry civilians in the last 10 years have been killed because, or somebody in their family killed specifically because they had 7 rounds in their firearm, and if they had 13 or 15, they would have come out the victor. I mean, how many of them are there? I'd really like to know. That's why I'm asking. I have a feeling it's maybe none, or it's 1 or 2 or something. If there's a bigger number there that someone could verify, authenticate, I'd like to know about it. So those kinds of things. Keeping logical, trying to be logical about it. I think John makes a good point. The main thing is be armed. I think if you can do that legally. And the chances of actually having to pull the firearm, if you're an observant person, you stay away from bad areas, you don't do stupid things, you're probably never going to even have to. It'll be comforting because something could happen, but you're probably never going to have to even put your hand on it. And then you're probably never, what are the chances of even having to pull it out because of something really happening, going or about to happen or potentially happening? And then if you did have to pull it, what are the chances of that not being enough, perhaps? Who wants to get shot with anything by anybody, or shot at even? I mean, that in and of itself would quite possibly remove a threat, okay, or cause them to go away. And then beyond all of that, looking at the statistics and numbers, what are the chances of actually having to put your hand on it, pull it out, warn somebody, then actually pull the trigger and have to shoot them? It is very, very, very small, of course. So I don't know, just stuff you have to think about. I just try and keep things in perspective. Now, for myself, I'd really rather have about 15 to 20 rounds at my disposal. But then again, I don't always have that, based on attire and time of year. And I guess my bottom line point there is don't fret too much. If you have a firearm, man, you are 99% in the game. If it's 4 shots, you're a 2 shots, a 2-shot Derringer. You're way better off than someone who is totally unarmed. So anyway, just things to think about, and we all fret a little too much, I guess, about those sorts of things. But have a gun. Even Cooper, who is a huge proponent of course, the 45, 1911. He would admit, have a gun of some kind. That's the main thing. Have a gun. I think I've probably kept you all too long by talking about all these meaningless things. Well, somewhat meaningless, right? Again, we appreciate you guys so much, and just I don't know why you have so much confidence in us. We hear you guys what you're saying, and when we meet you, I told a guy today, again, he was talking about, I ran into there at the crafts fair, about how he, watches the videos and likes to know what we say about it, before he buys a gun. And we hear that so often, and more often than we deserve to hear it, really, because I'm not the expert of all experts. I have my own preferences, and I'm just kind of giving you my opinion of these things. But we're so glad you do get something out of it, and I know everybody doesn't. We're not everybody's cup of tea, but we can give you honesty. That's the one thing. It may not give you the incredible depth of information that someone else might give you and all the details about a firearm, but you can definitely count on it being just whatever I do think about it. And I have shot a lot of firearms, a great deal. Have a lot of experience, and I'm just going to be honest with you about it. That will always be the case, because while we play with a little sponsorship here and there, none of it ever affects what we do in the videos, other than maybe mentioning those sponsors. But they are not gun companies. They're people who don't care what we say. They're people who sell guns, maybe, and they sell every gun and all that sort of thing. So that's just the way that is, and it's the way it will always be. With the volume of viewership, we feel pretty silly because of the exposure that we give everything, not to take a little bit of advantage of that size and get some sponsorship. But it's not going to be anything ever that causes me or John, when we're doing a video, to oops, we don't want to criticize that too much. We don't want to like that too much, or we don't. Maybe we better not review that gun because that competes with this other gun, this other company that we get this from, or yeah. So that's never going to be the case. Enough said. I just don't care. I just don't care. If we lose whatever sponsorship we have, so be it. Or we're going to be honest with you. Yeah, like I told Buds, even on the guns, they're auctioning the guns we send back to them. I said, well, now be ready. Some of these guns are going to malfunction. They're not going to work, and they don't care. That's what they like, and I'm impressed with them. I'm impressed with anybody who sends us a firearm, or if we're testing and evaluation, they know it's going to be unedited. And I warn them that it's going to be an honest review of it and what I think about it. And so I gotta love them. Man, we've done some guns that just were not all that great, and I wasn't very complimentary of them. But there's a couple of companies come to mind. They still will send us a gun if we want it. So that's the way it has to be. That's the only way we're gonna do it. So that's. But anyway, I'm assuming that's part of the reason, and we do appreciate that, because it's important to us, just to be honest. And I know sometimes I just love a gun. I don't care where it comes from, and it's the way it is. So that's why we're so transparent. I know it sounds like we get a lot more free stuff than anybody on the planet and all that kind of thing, but most people, if they've got any kind of footprint in media, they get all kinds of free stuff. We just want to be real transparent with it and let you know, so that you can judge accordingly. Even though I am going to be unbiased, at least that way you can say I'm biased because of whatever the source is, or something, or because someone sent that gun, it's a gift or something. I don't want to offend somebody or whatever, but I'm sorry, everybody needs to be ready to be offended, because whatever I think of the gun is whatever I think of it, and whatever it does in the video is whatever it does. So anyway, we appreciate the kind words, and even the trolls, because again, if you didn't have trolls, it would really indicate you're not doing anything. So the more trolls you have, keep this in mind now, whatever you do, you may have a channel going and you got pretty many viewers yourself. You know what I'm saying, that as it increases and as it grows, the level of trolls increases, and that's one of your indicators that you're doing something, okay, that you are making it, you that you are successful at some level because you have trolls. So be glad for the trolls, whether they're just idiots or they're just envious or they're just someone who wants to see their profanity in print, in public, or just whatever it is. If you don't have some of those, it's an indication you need to step it up a little bit. Get something going there. Oh, pretty funny, huh? But we really do appreciate you guys. We wouldn't be doing it if we didn't, or continuing it, or at this level if you weren't out there. So I'm glad you're there. I hope you're there today. I mean, really, I hope there's somebody listening. I feel rather strange, and there's probably something about me in the psychological journals. If I'm standing here in the reloading room talking for an hour or over an hour and nobody's listening, that's scary stuff. That's kind of like talking to yourself, isn't it? Or hearing voices that no one else hears, seeing things that no one else sees. That reminds me, here I go again off on a tangent. Did I ever tell y'all, when I was a reserve deputy, there was I don't know, somewhere along the way for those 10 years, they decided that everybody one year needed to take a psychological test. It was a written test, kind of this long, multiple choice ordeal. I think all the sworn officers had to take it every year or something, or before they could be hired. I don't know. It was one of those serious things. You had to go to I don't know, a psychological testing center or something. I think it was seemed like it was in Springfield, Tennessee, somewhere, and took that thing, and I'd never forget, there were questions on there, which is good, there were questions like I was just talking about. There was one, it said, do you ever do you ever hear voices that no one else hears? That was really one of the questions. And I don't know what the choices were, like maybe sometimes, all the time, or never. And another one was, do you see things that other people don't see? It was pretty cool. And then there were other questions that were so obviously getting at your level of paranoia. I love that. It was just, I had fun. I had to keep from laughing while I was taking it. Like, or how often do you feel like people are out to get you? Like always, often. Are people always talking about you behind your back? All this kind of stuff. It was so funny, and I was so tempted to answer in the wrong way just for kicks. But then again, I would have been definitely kicked out. I'm sure if that were my test, there would have been 4 or 5 of those questions, or maybe 10 of them flagged. And when whoever grades them, just forget about going through the entire test. Just look down for number 66 and 97 and whatever about the hearing voices and different things. And if those are answered the wrong way, why bother to look at the other answers? But anyway, I always think of that. It was pretty funny. So in other words, 22 Plinkster could never have been a reserve deputy. He would never pass that kind of test, would he? I'm sure he hears voices that no one else hears. Just got to. Well, let me really let you go here in a little bit now, but let me finish up with a reminder that we all need to stay in the fight when it comes to gun rights. And just whatever you do, I gave you my little stump speech there on the gun rights organizations and everything earlier. And I know in a lot of ways I'm preaching to the choir, but that's okay. I'm trying to get the choir motivated, keep you motivated to be aware and do that. And whatever you do, whatever you feel comfortable with, you really, even despite what I was saying earlier, you might do more for the cause in your own way. Maybe it's writing letters to the editor, posts on the internet, things like that, talking about it, whether that's in an actual lecture of some sort. Maybe you're a teacher. Maybe you're a college professor. You can do so much anytime you're in front of people, and then all of us just walking around, setting a good example, as I've talked about before. If you're in front of a classroom of any kind, I never did push firearms and Second Amendment when I was teaching, but as well as I do, there are things you can say, things that you can that you hopefully are trying to instill in young people, reminding them about freedom. That's what I always tried to do. Just freedom and choices and things, and thinking about things, and not just taking the obvious answer, for granted, and all that kind of questioning things, and just looking at it intelligently and thinking about stuff, not just be blindly following, whoever. Just think about things, and value freedom. But you don't have to talk about guns. Um, but setting the example, that's the big thing, I think, that we all do, and just representing ourselves and the shooting community well, and just being who you are as a good person who owns a lot of firearms maybe and shoots, and not being afraid to talk about it, and not scaring people. That's a lot of it. And again, now that guns are more mainstream, it's not so big a deal. It's not so hard to do, is it? Because so many people are into shooting now. And unless you are some goofball, ex-con, and I hope we don't have too many uh, felons listening to it. Of course, there could be, and watching the videos too. You can't control the world, but let's say it'd be a very, very small number. But just because you are a shooter, because you own firearms, there is a little difference there. We all realize that. It's like when you're on a sports team, you're a member of a group, whatever it might be. Your coach, your teachers, and just different people remind you occasionally. You're wearing the brand. You're wearing that school's color. We used to remind our students, look, if you want to be a goofball here on campus or in the classrooms, because I'm letting you be a goofball, I'm being a goofball, whatever. But look, we're out in a restaurant, we'll be traveling with sports teams and different groups. You've got that monogram on your shirt. You're wearing that. And we had not a dress code, but a dress uniform, or a uniform, where I taught, and everybody knew where you went to school, and they saw you. And you're representing it. It was on the bus. We're driving, big letters. So you're representing that group wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and just keep that in mind. And we're a little like that. People know we're firearms owners, we're shooters, and they may not know it right away, but they may learn it later. They're kind of looking at you, and the bar's a little bit higher because you don't want someone to think you're a scary person, right? That's what I'm getting at, partly. You are doing way more for the cause to just being a responsible person that you are, and you're a shooter, and that's it. You're carrying the message, And of course, as with anything, that one time that you forget that, or you do something that's a little scary, it's exaggerated, right? Because you're a gun owner. There are certain things that maybe I'm more reluctant to say because I'm a gun owner, and everybody knows I'm a gun owner. I'm not ever going to say something like, oh, I'm going to kill you for that, or something, just joking around. There's certain things you just remember. You catch yourself, and you go, no, wait a minute, that could be misinterpreted, because there are people that think that anybody who's a gun owner would do that, or that sort of thing. But just everybody can do something. They can do a lot. Join the organizations for gun rights, talk to people when it comes up, and just show that shooting is as normal as going bowling, and it's not that big a deal. Even carrying a gun for self-defense, it's not that big a deal. Just like having a spare tire in your trunk, having your house insured. You're not expecting trouble. You're just ready if there is. That's all there is to it. You're not worried about running into problems, partly because you have a firearm. Just like you're not worried about having a flat tire. You probably got a jack and a spare tire in your car, so you're not worried too much about it. You don't even think about it. So anyway, anything we can all do, that is great. Posting online too. There are unfortunately people. And I hate that, because when new shooters or young people are looking for information, they go to videos, and they're watching it, and a lot of them read the comments, and they get a lot of good information in there, but they also see some real goofballs and some idiots, and that's a bad reflection on gun owners, because you assume people making comments on shooting videos are probably gun owners, or they want to be a gun owner. Not all of them, but you figure most of them are. Even the idiotic remarks. And that right there is a bad reflection on gun owners. People are watching us, and they know you're a gun owner. There's a kind of a filter, like, okay, is that guy all right? Yeah, he's okay. He's just a regular person. You just kind of want to screen folks that have a lot of guns, or they're always talking about their firearms, or shooting, or being at the shooting range, and so people just they want to put you in a category. They don't want to put you in that negative category necessarily. So just don't give them any reason to. So anyway, we're all out there representing the sport and the Second Amendment. So let's again just do the best we can and put our best foot forward, because we have gained a lot of ground, and we're going to continue gaining even more, right? Because the truth is out there. Who was it that said facts are troublesome things, or facts can be annoying, but you can't get rid of them, you can't hide them. And the facts are that guns don't do anything, and that 99.9% of gun owners are the good folks on the planet, and it's just the way it is. And most people know that. We just got to keep showing it, right? So I guess I'll quit preaching at you. And again, appreciate you watching, and the sick people that listen to the radio shows, appreciate you all too. And I will yak at you on another day.
You've been listening to the Hickok 45 radio show. See you on the range.